he used to be able to go online on the operator, and he used to be able to put in a phone number, like if you were at your grandma's house and you want to make a long distance phone call, but you didn't want to charge her phone, but you wanted to charge your phone, there was a way where you could charge your phone from somebody else's house. And so I was doing that, like just making up numbers, like, and charging other people's phones with my phone calls. And one night me and my dad laugh about it now, but one night I was in the closet at night, and I had a pager, and he would page me and I'd call him. And by the time I was done, I got off the phone, I opened up the closet door, and there was my dad, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. But anyways, I was just doing everything that I could to be with this guy. And I actually got to the point where I moved back home with my mom, and I kind of was just ready to start new. I was ready to let him go. He wasn't good to me. He cheated on me. I was just tired of dealing with this whole thing with him, that I knew that inside that I deserved better than that. So, I was kind of going on with my life, and I kind of got separated from my best friend that was with his friend, and how I met him, and I was with her again, and my mom was just beginning to kind of trust me again and letting me go out again. And my birthday came around that year. My birthday is Christmas Eve, and he had seen me in the mall, and when he saw me, I just tried to ignore him. And not too long after that, my best friend told me, she's like, well, come to my house, this and that. He got you something for your birthday. And she's like, it's really pretty. So I was like, okay. So I went over there, and he had given me like a tennis bracelet, like a diamond tennis bracelet for my birthday. And he called while I was over there, because she told him that I was coming. And he came over, and I ended up sleeping with him that night, and I got pregnant. Yeah, it was like, it was really only like the second, third, I had been with them sneaking around, but it was only, I hadn't been talking to him or anything for a while, and I had given in again, and I got pregnant. And I was a month after turning 16, I got pregnant. And I remember being at school, and I was getting the symptoms of being pregnant. I had friends that had been pregnant, and I was like freaking out. And my mom had just went through a split up with her fiance, and so she was like going through a hard time. And I was just like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, and I always, it was weird, I always wanted a baby. I always wanted to have a baby. I used to think it was cute. I used to think that, I could take care of a baby, no big deal. I love kids, and just that state of mind of just being immature and not realizing what that entails, So, I even took my pregnancy test at school, and, I hid it. I didn't tell anybody for like 3 months, because I was so scared. I was so scared to tell them, and especially that I was pregnant by this guy that they had an restraining order on, and statutory rape, and I was supposed to see him, and my mom was just trusting me again. Plus my mom was hurting and going through a hard time. And so I remember I'd be like in the car, and I'd be like getting the nerve up to tell her, and I'd be like, Mom, and she'd be like, what? And I'd be like, I love you, because I was like so scared. And then we took a trip out to Vegas, and that's when New York opened. And I love roller coasters, and like the whole way there, I'm like getting sick. I kept saying, I have to go to the bathroom, stop, and I was throwing up, and I was so sick. And we got there, and I didn't ride the roller coaster, and then we were at the lake out there, and with some family, and they were hitting the waves, thinking it was all funny, and I was about to throw up, and I was hiding that. But by the time I got back, my friend that had lived by my dad. She told my dad that I was pregnant, and she was worried about me because I had thought about having an abortion because I was so scared. I would have never did it because I have really strong feelings about that, but you know, the thought crosses your mind when you're scared and you're young. So she was real worried about me, so she told them, which, you know, later everyone's like, aren't you mad? I'm like, no, I was really relieved that she actually told my dad, because he kind of, you know, called me when I got home from Vegas, and he was like, I need to talk to you. And every time I was in trouble, he would always take me to this, like, Arby's that was in Broomfield. Like, he would come down, and we went to Broomfield, I knew I was in trouble, or we had to talk about something that wasn't good. So, you know, he comes picks me up, and that's where he takes me. So I'm all, oh crap, you know, and I already knew, I could just feel it. And he just turned around and said, is it true? And I just busted out crying. And so, you know, he took me back, made me tell my mom, and so, you know, it was finally out. I was like a little over 3 months. My mom and my dad and my stepmom, they were disappointed. Sorry, I'm trying not to cry. Hold on a minute, I gotta stop for a second. Okay, I kind of pulled it together there. I just don't want to, I don't want to get too emotional, and sorry I'm babbling probably a little bit, I'm a little bit nervous, and emotional, but that's just me. But, you know, my family was there for me, and okay, sorry, that was gross. But anyways, you know, they were there for me. I remember, like, the next day my mom, she went out and, like, bought all this baby stuff. This baby store was closing. She came home with bags of baby stuff, and, like, to this day I tease her. I'm like, you were happy that I had a baby, you know, because, you know, she always wanted another one. I was her only child for a long time. So she was like, I have to admit I was, but I couldn't tell you that, you know, and, you know, it was kind of a warped thing, but to be happy about a baby from your daughter who's 16, but it was a baby, so. So anyways, so, you know, this was the hard part. The hardest part was to tell them. She was like, who are you pregnant by? And she thought this was this other guy, which this is my frame of mind at this age. You know, I was talking to a guy in jail. I was writing him. He was friends with my friend in Longmont. That was her cousin. And I was writing him, and my mom knew that he was in jail, but I don't know, she was just happy that I wasn't seeing this guy anymore, and this other guy I was writing was in prison. He wasn't out, even though it probably didn't make her feel good, but anyway, she thought I was pregnant by him, and I'm like, you know, how can I get pregnant by a guy in jail? But I had to tell her that I was pregnant by this guy that I had been through all this with, and you know, before they found out, I forgot to say this, that, you know, he gave me a hard time about even believing me that I was pregnant. I had to, like, show him the pregnancy test, and, you know, treating me like I'm some girl who sleeps around, which I never was. I was never a girl who slept around. I was always with guys that I felt like I loved or I cared about, I was in a relationship with, and I just ended up pregnant. But anyways, you know, so I went through telling them that, and, you know, them having to accept him, because here I am, I'm going to have a baby with him now, and, you know, he was around, but, you know, he didn't love me, and, you know, he cheated on me when I was pregnant, and, you know, here I am pregnant, 16, and I'm like getting cheated on by this guy, and, you know, and I went into labor at 30 weeks. I went into labor the first time, and what happened was they were just, you know, they told me when I was going through my checkups that it could be a possibility because I was so young and I was so little, you know, in my hips, and I was still growing myself, that, you know, it could have been a possibility for me to go and have a premature baby. And so, you know, I went in there late at night one night, and, you know, for sure was like in labor. I was having pains, and I got freaked out because there was a woman down the street who was insane and thought she was pregnant, which she wasn't, but she was screaming at the top of her lungs, and it was freaking me out because I was so scared to go through labor. And here I am 30 weeks, you know, 10 weeks before I'm supposed to give birth and, you know, my due date, and here I am in the hospital. And they were able to stop it. I got put on medication to stop it, and they sent me home and they put me on bed rest. And this is when this guy, you know, the baby's father, he started calling me again and trying to act like he was concerned, which to a point I let him have information, but to a point I didn't, you know. But I held off, my body held off about 2 more weeks, and I went in for a checkup because they were making me go in a lot now because they had a checkup on me. And I went in for a checkup, and I was already dilated from those 2 weeks to dilated to 7, so you have to dilate to 10. I was dilated to 7, and so they're like, you know, we need to get you in the hospital because now it's just, we can't stop it anymore, you're too far dilated. And, you know, so it's only 32 weeks now, so here I am, 16, in the hospital giving birth to a premature baby. And I mean, they were still giving me medication to try to slow it down as much as possible, but then they get to the point where, you know, you can get the baby sick, you know, get exposed and stuff. So then, you know, I had him. They told me he was going to be like 3 pounds, but I gave birth to a 4-pound, 11-ounce baby boy, and he was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Hold on. Okay, sorry. This is why I'm like, I can't do this like in a big front of a group of people because I get very emotional. But you know, he was bigger than that they expected. He was healthy. I mean, he was in intensive care. He had to be. I mean, he was premature. He had jaundice. He had sleep apnea. You know, we had to feed him through a little tube because he wasn't strong enough to suck, and you know, I looked like I had a little old man. He had like no fat on him. So, you know, I watched him like get cheeks and stuff. One day I would go home, and the next day I'd come in, and he would have cheeks on him, and I found out that my placenta was like detaching from the wall of my uterus because of stress. And you know, and like I said, they told me that I'd probably have a premature baby because of how young I was. But I remember when I had him, I never really thought that I was gonna lose him. Like, I never thought like he's endangered. They're like, okay, Aiesha, your baby's gonna go to this and that, and I'm like, okay, you know, like, I don't know if it was just my immaturity or